So your session at Corporate Learning Week is on using L&D as a key to tie strategy to the business. So why is this important? Why is it important for L&D teams to act as a strategic partner to the business?
Yeah, I think it's important for learning and development partners to act in the most strategic way possible to the business, because learning and development is often one of the first things cut or scrutinized whenever budgets are reviewed. And most companies that I've worked at always look at budgets very, very tightly and want to make sure that they are aligning learning and development in the most critical way to help the business. And so as a strategic partner, I've always tried to make sure that I'm as connected as I can to the CHRO and other members of the executive committee to make sure that the funding that's been allocated to learning and development is not only spent smartly, but in the best ways that are connected to the business.
Wonderful. Could you share some examples of how Wunderman's L&D team has successfully partnered with the business to boost bottom line results, drive strategic objectives, and so on?
Yeah. So regarding partnering to look at strategic initiatives, one of the first projects that I worked on in joining the agency was to reacquaint our people with our global way of working. We call it collision, and we did everything that we could to provide learning and development and tools and resources for the frameworks around collision. And that project lasted, it's still going on, but it lasted around 2 years, and it really boosted morale in the organization and really gave our folks a consistent framework and a consistent nomenclature and tools and frameworks around how we partner with our clients and with our teams within the agency. So that's just one example.
So what are the top 3 challenges you face when trying to align L&D with business strategy?
The top 3 challenges, I would say, one is prioritization. You know, you can't do everything. You can't do everything that I would like to do. And so being able to prioritize and pick and choose the initiatives that makes most sense to the business, to where the business is going, and for the people to be able to make sure that our 10+ thousand Wunderman colleagues across the globe are getting the most that we can provide for them given the resources that we have. That's one challenge. Second challenge is just scalability, right? Because we have 10,000 people in 200 offices in 70 countries. Scaling anything that we do on a global basis can be quite challenging. And so making sure that we are simplistic, realistic, and bottom line driven around the strategic learning initiatives is always a challenge, because everybody wants to have everything, including me. I'm probably the biggest culprit there, and so being able to streamline and prioritize is a challenge. And then third, I would say, is just the global nature of the business, right? Making sure that what we do is in tune to the different regions, to the different cultures. We have 200 offices, and we need to have a lot of flexibility with anything that we drive from the center, right? So we've got branding around our global learning and our global talent initiatives, but oftentimes we have to have flexibility so that our folks in the region can be able to take what we have and mold it and make it applicable for what they have in the region. And that can be a challenge when you have a wider scope as what we have. Yeah.
Awesome. So how do you work with current and future L&D leaders, i.e. your team, to help them more effectively partner with the business?
Yeah, so in terms of partnering with the business, I think it's about relationships, right? You really have to have good relationships so that our leaders and our colleagues across the business trust that we are going to do the best thing for the employees. Our talent strategy at Wunderman is called U-Time, and it's really all about our employees and empowering them to take charge of their careers. And because we have a millennial population, it's we try to have the kind of programs that are driving consistency, but also looking at our folks from the perspective of who they are and what they bring to the table as Wunderman colleagues. And so I try to instill in my team, which is a small team, but never still, I try to instill in them to, to honor that and to really think about you time and what we're here for. And what we're here for is to provide opportunities for our colleagues.
Awesome. So on the flip side, how do you work with the C-suite or other leadership teams to ensure that they embrace L&D as a strategic partner, understand how L&D can drive positive business outcomes, and help them really fully capitalize on all your team has to offer in terms of like skill sets, tools, resources, so forth?
Yeah. I think the key there again is being able to prioritize and really be able to have scalability. We're rarely asked to do things on a small basis. On my team, we just have not, since I've been here, we haven't had that luxury, which is great because it's so much fun and it's so much challenging to work on programs that are very strategic in nature. And so what I always try to do is under-promise and over-deliver and never, stretch it too far, and try to make sure that I keep promises that I make, and try to stay on budget and on task, turn things in on time, and just continue to build the best relationships that I can across the organization.
Awesome. And then last but not least, what advice do you have for your fellow L&D leaders out there who may be struggling to really position their team as strategic partners to the business?
Yeah, I have this thing about activity. If you're going to do training just for the sake of activity, it can sometimes be exciting, but not return the best for the business. And so I always advise folks to have an end game and plan. Like, what is the objective of what you're trying to do? And be very clear about that with your senior partners, particularly your executive sponsors that are giving you funding and support. Just be real clear about what the objective is. And if it's activity, then be clear about that this is just an activity thing that's going to be fun for people, but it's not going to return a lot of investment to the business, or it's going to be an engagement tool and it's going to help with attrition or whatever the objective is. Just be very clear about that and try to stay true to that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Those are all the questions.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
That was